On this episode of The Real Deal, where real estate meets real life, we sit down with Arizona paralegal Lindsay McWhorter from Resolute Document Preparation, and we talk about trusts, wills, powers of attorney, and other legal documents that all families must have in place before tragedy occurs. So if you own a home, you have kids, and you want to protect your family and those assets, this is an episode you do not want to miss.
All right, well, welcome to episode 109 of The Real Deal. I am your host, Janine Igliane, with my co-host, Ryan Hatcher.
What's up, guys?
And our guest today is Lindsay. Thank you for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
As I said to you before we started, I think both Ryan and I are selfishly very excited for this episode so we can hear all the things that you're going to share with us to help us, because we have adult children and your services, I think, could be super valuable. People don't even realize that, but we'll get into that.
Yes,
Tell us about yourself.
So I am an Arizona certified legal document preparer, and when I tell people that, they kind of give me that deer in the headlight look, right? They don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But people are familiar with the term paralegal, right? So paralegals work for attorneys, but they have to work for an attorney. If you've been a paralegal long enough, you can go before the Supreme Court and they will test you and interview you, and if you pass, you get this license, which basically allows you to be an independent paralegal.
Nice. So tell us, you grew up here. Tell us a little bit. We want to get to know who you are on the personal side a little bit more.
Personal side, okay. I've been here since junior high. I was in Southern California before that. Grew up in
What part
Mesa,
of Southern California?
Riverside.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know that area?
Yeah, I'm from Orange County. So,
Okay, yes. So summers on the beach, that
Yeah.
was a thing, or on Grandpa's ranch.
Yeah.
So that's how my summers were. And then moved here in junior high, and I've been all around the valley since then. I have two adult kids, a 19-year-old and a 22-year-old. And as far as things I love, anything outdoors.
Yeah.
A lake, river, ocean, that's happy for me.
That's what's nice about living here in Arizona is we get all of those, like within a day. You could be in the mountains, you could be at a lake, right? I love that.
Exactly, me too.
So how did you get into this line of work?
So actually my licensing and schooling and everything was in dental hygiene. I did that for about 20 years. If anyone knows about that at all, it's really hard on your back. So I was having some issues with that. And I just decided I wanted to change. So I did a complete change and started working at a law office and just slowly worked my way up from assistant to paralegal to my own doc prep.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So talk to us about what you do and like what services you offer. For someone listening that's like, what is that? What can you do?
So my main focus is estate planning. So trusts, wills, powers of attorney, deeds, that main area. And then I do a few other areas of law as well.
Mm-hmm. Why? So can you talk, let's break down like estate planning and all those different options, because I think a lot of people think, well, I don't need to do that. I can wait till later in life to get that done, right? Talk about that.
That's very common. And when I first got into this, I did think my clientele would be really old, wealthy people. That's just what I thought, but that's not the case at all. Guardianship for your kids, right? Young couples are a common client of mine. So they have a child, and typically in families, there's somebody in the family that they don't really want their child to go to, some sibling or brother, sister. So with that, naming a guardian becomes really important. And then as far as powers of attorney, those are really important for while you're still alive. I think of worst case scenarios all the time, but you get in an accident. Who do you want to be your voice for medical care? Who do you want to be able to have access to your bank accounts to pay your bills? All that's really important for while you're still alive.
And something that people don't realize is that it does not just one person that has to handle everything. You can have different people.
Absolutely, and there usually is. Like in most, not most, but a lot of families, the person that they ask to be the financial power of attorney versus healthcare. There's one who's really good with numbers, and then there's someone that, oh yeah, my son's a doctor, nurse, or whatever. And so it does not have to be the same person.
Well, I'll say this. We met probably 5 years ago during COVID at church, and it was the year that we were building our house, so we were in the same congregation. And I remember talking to your husband, who's an attorney, about estate planning, and he said, well, you need to talk to my wife because she's awesome and less expensive is what he said.
Yeah.
So that's what we first started talking about, because you got to set up on our trust and our will, I think, right?
Yeah.
But then when Braden, our oldest, was heading off to Honduras on his mission, you got to set up for his powers of attorney, and all those things. Can you talk about why or what those documents are a little bit?
Yeah.
That's
So
important.
it's a really important one for these 18-year-olds who are going off into the world, whether it be college or serving church missions or playing sports.
Or the military. Or
Yeah, wherever they may be. Parents sometimes assume that, well, I'm their parent. Of course, doctors are going to talk to me, and that's just not the case. So actually within that same neighborhood that you and I lived in, I had two friends, and estate planning is just easy to procrastinate, right? It's one of those things. And two friends kept talking to me about, hey, we need to get this done for our child who's going away, graduating high school, going away. One of them got it done, and her son went off to serve a church mission, and the other one went across the U.S. to go play some sports. And the one going across to play sports didn't get theirs done. They just got busy, didn't get it done. Well, they both ended up having situations. The one who was out of the country got really, really sick. And so the mom was trying to organize all kinds of medical appointments for when he got back, because it was kind of a serious condition. And she was told over the phone, sorry, we can't help you. He's an adult now. And she's like, well, I have his medical power of attorney. And everything changed. And now all of a sudden, she's lining up appointments, timing it right just for when he got home. And she's able to talk to the doctors in the other country about what's going on with him. The one who went to go play football, unfortunately, got hurt. You get hurt in sports. And mom hears, hey, your son's in the hospital. She has no idea what happened, what's going on. And she calls the hospital, and they're like, sorry, we can't talk to you, HIPAA privacy. So had she had it, I think there would have been a little bit more peace of mind there.
So from the second they turn 18, they have to have that
Absolutely.
backup.
I think that was like an eye opener for me. I remember taking my oldest daughter to a doctor's appointment after she had turned 18, and they turned to her and asked her if they could talk to me. And I was like, at first I was like, what are you talking about? I'm her mother. I've been doing this her whole life. But then it clicked, and I was like, oh my goodness, because she's 18, completely changes.
Right.
And it's not, I think, for anything other than to have someone that can advocate for you. God forbid the worst happens, right?
Exactly.
And so having that set up before you get to the point of needing it is so important. My mom, when she was 54, had a massive stroke and could not, she lost speech, all of that. And we're in the hospital. She's literally in ICU, and I'm trying to set all this stuff up for her because we had it. And it was unexpected, obviously. And it was really, really difficult. And so having some of those things in place ahead of time is so important, because by the time you need it, it's almost too late. And you don't want to be in that moment of having to deal with that stress on top of, okay, I need to get power of attorney.
Exactly.
What do you think the reasons are that people don't get it done? Is it because they don't want to have the conversation? They don't want to think about it?
For some, yes, I do. And it's strange. It's usually the older clients who don't want to talk about it. Younger clients seem to be fine because it feels so far away.
Yeah.
But the older clients, they think it's kind of making them get closer to the end.
Yeah.
And then I think people are busy, and they just
Push it off.
It's an easy thing to procrastinate because it's not in your face need right now.
We're going to live tomorrow, so we're good for now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the docs that you would recommend for a parent with a new adult kid. What would you recommend that they have in place?
Absolutely a healthcare power of attorney. That one for sure. Some parents will request a separate HIPAA release form, and that can be easily included, but it is structured into the general healthcare, so that one as well. If they have financial assets, a financial power of attorney would be good, but there are quite a few who 18 they don't have anything. It's not really they're broke. They don't have anything. They're getting parent help anyway. But I think the key is that healthcare one.
What are some others that you commonly do?
For an 18-year-old, that's pretty much the common one I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, talk to us about a living trust and a will and the differences and why they're both important.
Right. So In Arizona, a will is subject to probate court. And what that means is if you passed away with only a will, your assets would be subject to going through the whole probate court system, which is a nightmare. It's about 12 to 18 months of court hearings and legal fees, and it's a mess. One of my very common phone calls to get will be someone middle-aged, and it'll go something like this, hey, my parents just passed away, they didn't have a trust, they only had a will, and I'm dealing with this mess. I never want to do this to my kids. Can you help me set something up? So they kind of then realize it from having to experience it firsthand, what a mess that can be. Another one is clients will have lived in another state where they have different state laws, and a will was sufficient for them there, but now they move here and they don't even realize that they think they have all their estate planning done because they have their will, but for Arizona, that's just not sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking, I think this morning. I used to work in the insurance world, and even though I didn't handle life insurance particularly, I would hear all the time in that industry of stories where people had the life insurance, and so when they passed away, the insurance person was able to write a check and give it to the family, and they were good, right? And then the opposite, where they didn't have the coverage. I think of it very similarly to this too. Like if you don't have your estate set up and you're not organized, it is a nightmare for your family that's surviving. Not only are they grieving your loss, right?
Exactly.
But now they have to deal with all of the probate and the headache. So I think it's so important that people understand the ramifications by not having this prepared, especially if you're in your 50s or 60s, right?
Right.
Because it's going to happen.
Right.
You're going to pass away at some point, right?
And who knows if probate court is going to decide what you would have chose.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So can you elaborate? You talked about a will. What about a living trust?
That's the trust and will go hand in hand, but a trust is actually kind of what people think of as a will. So all the specific directions of distribution are stated in the trust, and then the will is kind of a supplementary document that just basically says, when I pass away, everything goes into my trust. So they go hand in hand, but the trust is the part that avoids the probate court.
So I want to ask, because we set ours up when our kids were younger, and now I have 2 adult kids and 1 13-year-old. Do I need to get all of this updated?
You should at least have it reviewed.
Okay.
So yes, I will help you.
Okay.
Yes, so we can sit down and review it. And then sometimes people don't even know what their trust says.
Yeah.
Sometimes their life has changed and it's different, or they thought it said something and it says something totally different. So reviewing it, I would say every 5 to 10 years is good, just because life happens. And sometimes we in the meeting and you're good, like great. And other times they're realizing, oh wait, we don't want that. So we can do what's called an amendment if there needs to be any updates to that.
What's the irrevocable and revocable stuff? What's that all mean?
So revocable means that you can change it at any time. That's the kind of trust that I do. That's the probate avoidance trust. Irrevocable, I don't do those. I would refer you to an attorney for those. They're very rare, they're very expensive, and it's basically you don't own your assets anymore. You put it in an irrevocable trust, it's out of your name. It's completely, if you had a trust in an irrevocable trust, like a house, you wouldn't be able to just sell the home because you want to. So most trusts are revocable.
Okay, revocable.
So can you talk about that, since we're talking about housing and owning your home and putting it in the trust? What does that entail, and why should you do that?
So if you have a trust and you're working with you guys, right, should definitely put it into your trust so that your equity in that home avoids that whole probate court situation. If you bought a house and it's in your personal name and then you later do a trust, then we would just deed it into the trust. You still own it. It's still your home, but now that equity is protected and having that pathway for distribution.
That's so important.
Yeah.
We see a lot of people that have done things like once and feel like, okay, it's one and done and I'm good. And then when they go to sell a house or life event happens, then they're like, oh goodness, I didn't update this or I didn't have that. And so I love that you gave that advice to having it looked at every 5 years or so,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, and sometimes I'll meet with a younger couple, and their only concern at that point is guardianship for their child, right? They don't have a whole lot of stuff. They're just starting out.
Who's going to take the kids?
Yeah, and so we start going into questions, and sometimes they start jumping like 30 years ahead, which how do you know 30 years ahead? So I just kind of tell them, let's think 5 years, right? And know that we can amend it if things change, but let's just kind of focus on that for now.
Yeah.
So another reason I think people avoid this is because they think it's extremely expensive, and it may be. So what does it normally cost for an attorney to do this?
For an attorney, I would say $3,000 to $4,000.
Okay, and they're doing the same thing you're doing,
I am, yeah.
but not as expensive.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, any estate planners, attorney, document preparer use. There's a few different platforms to do that, and we all kind of use the same. If someone has absolutely no idea, if they're over that $12 million mark and they're trying to get assets out of their names, that's not my client. But just for anyone normal under that 12 million, yeah, that's
Why
my
12?
wheelhouse. Yeah, that's just the law of when taxes start hitting harder. So yeah.
Okay.
This episode is sponsored by Frank Bowen, founder of Bowen Technologies. High performers don't rely on motivation, they rely on systems. Frank Bowen helps professionals build the internal structure required to perform at a higher level consistently. Through his growth circuit framework, he teaches discipline, focus, and leadership at a different standard. To get started, visit Frank's website linked in the description. Thank you for watching the episode. Our podcast is called The Real Deal, where real estate meets real life. And I love sharing these real life stories, but we are also in the real estate business. And so if you have any real estate needs, maybe you're thinking about buying or selling or wanting to invest in real estate, we would love to help you. So what is some general, if you've been doing this a while, some really good advice? Because when it comes to setting this stuff up, what would you say these are best practices? I know when we set ours up, we felt very overwhelmed by all the decisions that we had to make. It felt like at that time, because we do have investment properties and just different things. And it was oh my goodness. And who's going to take care of the kids and who's going to do our finance? It was just so many decisions.
There are some big decisions, and there's some things that you usually don't think of. I'll ask my clients, and the common thought was, "Oh, I didn't think of that," right? So there are those things. Mine went off track. You had said something about the.
I think I just know we felt very overwhelmed about
how to prepare
investment properties.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, a lot of my clients think that they're going to have to gather all of this financial information. They're like, well, I need a couple weeks to get all my bank statements, and I don't need to know that. We don't need to get into your personal information in that way. I need to know the type of assets you have, but I don't need account numbers and things like that.
You don't even need to know the value of the home. You just need to know they have a home.
Well, I will ask to make sure it's not over a certain limit.
Okay.
But if it's, yes.
12 million.
Yeah, right. Okay. So, but no, I just need to know, you have your home, do you have your business, do you have your LLC? Are we writing in retirement language? Those kinds of questions in there. It is helpful to think ahead of time about, what you were talking. There are some big decisions okay, who do I want to raise my child? It's usually different than who do I want handling my money. It can be the same person, but having that, it's usually your money and your kids are what it comes down to about who do you trust the most with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a question, and it's probably a dumb question, but I genuinely want to know. We have ours in a physical binder.
Okay.
And I've shared my oldest, here's where it is.
Yeah.
My sister and my cousin are the financial health people for us. So I'm just so you know, here's where it is. Is that all? What happens if it burns out?
Yeah.
I get that question all the time. So as far as your healthcare power of attorneys, for me, I have my husband's on, because you should have it for your spouse too, right? So I have mine on my phone. If there's an emergency, I don't want to have to run to the house and get it out of the safe, or if, heaven forbid, we're hurt together, trying to have my kids rummage through my stuff, trying to find these powers of attorney, right? So digital copies are completely fine for those, and for your adult kids that you have, you should have them easy access, whether it's some kind of digital file Dropbox or whatever, or just even screenshots are fine for that. The trust document itself, if there is an issue, yes, you do need to have the original, so keeping that protected is good. A lot of people will scan it in though, so while it won't completely avoid probate if there is an issue, it will make the process much, much easier because they will have your intentions.
So we basically need to have a lockbox somewhere, or
like a fireproof safe.
a safe.
Yeah, we
bank
have
account.
one, but I don't have it in there. So
Yeah.
Duh.
Well,
I
the
feel like
first-
I should have known that.
Yeah, I mean, Well, the first time this whole thing became relevant to me, it was the first time Kara and I were going on a vacation without the kids.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, what if this plane goes down? What's
Yes.
going to happen to our kids, our house, all that, right? So, again, it's just so important to think through these things and prepare, because the worst is if you don't, right? Or let's say you're going on a vacation and you realize this because you listened to this episode, and now you're rushing to get something done before your kid's about to head off to the Philippines or something, right?
Exactly.
So plan ahead, right?
Plan ahead. And it's surprising, I've heard this a couple of times, and it's just an interesting situation to me where I'll get a call and they'll say, well, we're going on vacation and I want my parents to watch the kids, but they said that they won't do it unless we have these documents in place.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like, wow, your parents are on the ball. So
Wow.
yeah.
Huh.
So that's interesting, giving the grandparents.
Some,
Oh.
yeah. So because they don't know, maybe they've gone through something, or they understand that, hey, we're not going to be able to take this child to the doctor, or, sign school papers and things like that.
Oh,
They're
my goodness.
wise. They're wise.
Yeah.
Okay, one question. What are some common mistakes people make when trying to handle legal paperwork on their own?
Good one.
A good old legal Zoom thing, right?
Yes, we see that. I do. I see this quite a bit where they will have done it themselves and they come in and they're like, hey, I just want you to look this over. And as we start going through the questions, it's usually not what they want. They always get confused on the term per stirpes. Do you guys know what that means?
Nope.
Okay, so that's a
What is
common
it?
one, per stirpes.
Per stirpes.
Totally a legal term. And what it means is, for example, if you said, I want my distribution to be to my children per stirpes, that would mean that if one of your children passed away, it would go to that deceased child's children, if anyway. So it's kind of like the word for going to your
Heirs,
children, your issue. So lots of times they'll choose that, or they won't choose that on the legal Zoom, and they have no idea what it means. And when I'm talking to them about it, they'll be like, no, that's not what I wanted. Yeah. So, or they won't put in an age of distribution for their kids. So for me, this is just me personally, I love the age 25.
Yeah.
Where some people will.
Their brains are fully developed.
Yeah, yes, that's my thought. But I have a 19 and 22-year-old, great kids, but would I really trust them right now? Not really.
Yeah, I mean, think about if in my scenario where Karen and I are in a plane wreck, and it goes down, where does my life insurance go? Who is in charge of that, right?
Yeah.
Do I want an 18-year-old or 19-year-old dealing with that? Probably not.
Probably not. So they don't even think about picking an age of distribution for that.
Yeah. We did, even for our son, that he had to be married.
Okay.
We didn't want him being single, having a bunch of money.
Yes, you can do those things.
Yeah.
So sometimes people will say, only after a bachelor's degree, or after, they throw in all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And that's where, if you're having someone help you, you can make those more customized, where usually those online legal things, it's just like a checkbox, and that's.
So you're saying the kids need to be married?
I did it just for my son. They don't know this stuff, Ryan.
Okay.
So, but
Well, I didn't spill the beans.
I'm just like protecting, because
Yeah.
I feel like the
That's
girls are very responsible, but I love my kids, love y'all. But
Yeah, well,
just feel like
they
the
gotta,
boy.
They got to prove it and earn it, right?
Right, and I feel like that's like a level of maturity to
Yeah.
arrive at.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's
See,
cool.
that customization, that's what you can do.
So what if someone schedules an appointment with you? What can they expect that appointment to look like? And is it a one and done appointment? Is it multiple appointments?
No, the first one will just be a consultation, kind of just talking about what their concerns are, what they're wanting to do, going over. Most of my clients will just do a trust package that I offer. What's included in that? It just is all the different essential documents in there. And then I'll just gather information. Usually they don't know everything at that appointment, so then
They have some homework?
Yeah, a little bit of homework that they'll have to, email me or call me with. And then after I draft everything, which usually is, 3 to 5 business days, and then we meet again at my office. So I notarize it, and then I have 2 others who act as witnesses. So, yeah.
And then what's the step after that in terms of funding it and making sure all that
Super
stuff?
important.
Yeah.
Yep. So at the signing appointment is when we go over funding, which that's basically the legal term for putting your assets into your trust, which is incredibly important. And that's one of the main areas I see when I'm reviewing somebody who, I just met and they're like, oh, I had a trust. It was done 10 years ago. Can you review it with me? Sure. And that's usually the most common thing that I see is they never funded their trust. So whether that be taking care of the deed to put their property into the trust, talking to their bank, naming their trust as their beneficiary, those type of things, it's incredibly important because you can have this nice, pretty folder, and if your stuff isn't funded into it, it's not doing you any good. So we go over that in detail on that last appointment.
Okay.
That's awesome.
And then after that, you're good to go, right?
You're good to go.
Here's a question for you. So you run your own business. What has entrepreneurship taught you?
Late nights.
Yeah. Stress?
Yeah, definitely. Some stress.
hear that.
But also a bonus is some flexibility too, right? When I was doing dental hygiene, my kids were super competitive into sports, and I was missing their stuff because I was in an office, right? Now I could take off that, that game time.
You can
I
control your appointments.
I could be up till 10, but that's okay. I made it to their game, right? So
That's what we love about what we do.
Yeah.
We can coach our kids and go to the stuff
Yeah.
and sponsor things and be there. And yes, there's a price to pay for that too, right?
Sure. Yeah. But
That's great.
yeah.
What's different now that you've been doing? How long have you been doing this?
I've been on my own for 6 years now.
Okay, so how would you compare today versus when you first started?
Oh, much busier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your
But
business is growing.
It is growing. It grows every year, which is
And
great.
hopefully it'll grow a lot more after this too.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
I would be thankful for that. But yeah.
Do you see AI as interfering in what you do at all?
Maybe in the future. I don't think people, from what I've seen anyway, they don't quite trust it as much. If they do, they're already the type who's going to use LegalZoom or
Right.
something like that anyway. But I even see a bit of people with hesitancy with that because they'll do that, but then they'll want me to review it, right?
Yeah,
So
just to be sure.
yeah.
Because
So
I can't imagine having complete peace of mind
Yeah.
unless somebody reviewed it.
right, and which I can't take legal responsibility for something someone else does. So I can say,
Right.
well, this is the basic things, but you know, I know
Now you
my
need to do it over.
yeah, right. I know my documents are solid. I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What didn't we ask you that we should have asked you?
I don't know. You guys are very thorough.
Truly, we can, I think, look at it through our lens of perspective of okay, have we done the right things? What else do we need to do? That kind of stuff. So that's
Yeah.
super helpful.
Yeah, another one to maybe think about too is with property with deeds, right? Just in general, with having the trust, typically people used to be able to contact their title company and have them put it into their trust. And more title companies are just doing away with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys
Yeah,
know this
I've
already.
heard that.
If it's not part of the real estate transaction, they're done with it.
Yep.
So that's another area.
They
where it gives-
typically refer you to someone else.
Yeah, and I refer
Yeah.
to someone like me, so then I can.
So
help
you
them.
can do that?
You can
do that.
record it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
so I
Well,
would-
that's a
I would
one-stop
draft
shop
that.
then.
yeah,
It is, yeah.
yeah. So that's a really important.
So what does that
part.
process look like?
So let's say you and Kara own the house and it's, and then all of a sudden you come with me and get a trust done.
Yep.
Then we would do a deed, and instead of Ryan and Kara,
Mm-hmm.
the individuals owning it, we'd put it into your names as trustees of this new trust that we're doing. And then I'm a provider for the Maricopa County Recorder's Office, so I just get it recorded and
Then it's done.
Then
And then when you go to sell it, how does that impact the sale?
it doesn't.
So because you're the owners of the trust,
You
you get to
still
make
own it, you can
decisions.
still sell it. Yeah.
Unless it's a revocable. Or
Right,
irrevocable.
irrevocable.
Yes.
Then there's
Okay.
some issues. Yes.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing from you is how easy you make it. It sounds like we can come to you, you can do all of this and just make it so easy for us, which is so nice.
I do hear that a lot.
Yeah.
That was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Why didn't I do this earlier?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a common
Well,
one.
and not only that, again, going back to the cost of this normally, I don't remember what we paid, but it was a fraction of what I think it would have cost somewhere else.
Yeah.
And we trust you and know that it's going to be done right.
Thank you. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I think. Anybody listening to this, have that conversation, because it's easy and it's cost effective. You don't have to wait and postpone it, and then nightmares happen.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
so important.
Yes. I mean, just this morning I had someone who she called me probably 6 months ago, and she said her husband wasn't doing well and she wanted to get stuff taken care of. And I said, great, send me this. And life got busy, right? And just today she called me again, and he's been diagnosed with dementia. Now the window's closed, right? So getting that done before those types of things happen, or brain injury, or right?
Or sudden death.
Yeah, exactly. So
I bet you have all kinds of stories like that.
I do have all kinds of stories like that. Some really for the good, and some that didn't.
Yeah.
They waited too long.
For the moral of the story is be prepared.
Just get it done.
Yeah.
The good old,
Get it done.
the good old
Yeah, get
scout
it
motto.
done.
Yes.
Be
Yes.
prepared.
Yes, and then you can update it as things change.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not like it never can change. So that's really cool. Well, Lindsay, thanks for sharing with us.
Thanks for having me.
We love to end with a little speed round, rapid fire questions. Are you up for that?
Sure.
Okay, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
Ooh, a lot of
Figured
people
that.
say that, and a lot of people are wearing their favorite color, so that's kind of cool.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
Yes.
What about a favorite drink?
Oh, I'm so boring. I guess maybe Diet Dr. Pepper.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's fun. I try to get my kids on Diet Dr. Pepper, by the way, because they love regular Dr. Pepper.
Oh, okay.
What about dirty Diet Dr. Pepper?
Oh, you just upped the game. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. There you go.
What about a favorite food?
Goodness, I love Mexican food.
Oh, yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite book?
I don't. I don't have a favorite book.
Okay. Favorite podcast?
Real deal.
Oh, yes. Let's go. What about a favorite vacation?
Oh, Switzerland.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Okay, last but not least, what do you want to be known for?
Oh, that's not a sweet one. I don't know. Like professionally or
In any way.
Yeah.
anyway?
Both.
Anyway, good mom, good wife. Yeah. Yeah. Just caring for what I do and taking care of people. Yeah.
Well, I will say this too. She's also one of the nicest females or people on the planet. So,
Oh, thank you.
so that's huge.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're winning in that regard.
We're going to make sure your information is linked when we share this podcast so that any of our listeners can reach out to you directly. I think it would be so valuable. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Real Deal podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe, and you can follow us on social media at the Home Selling Team AZ.